Today is the fast of Shiva Asar B'Tamuz. Be'ezat Hashem, we should never have to fast again. We should have the Binyan Bet HaMikdash B'mehera B'Yameinu. But until then, the Rambam tells us that we have to fast on certain times for certain reasons in order for us to do teshuvah and not to do the same sins as our fathers did, as our grandfathers did in the times of the Bet HaMikdash and other times also. Today on Shiva Asar B'Tamuz, the Mishnah in Masechet Ta'anit tells us that 5 things happened on this day. The first thing that happened was Nishtabru Haluchot. Moshe Rabbeinu comes down from Har Sinai, and what happens? He sees Bnei Israel are sinning with the Egel HaZahav, with the golden calf, and what does he do? He throws the luchot from his hands, and they break. The first luchot break. So that's Nishtabru Haluchot. The question to be asked is that there's a greater sin that was done over here. The greater tragedy that we have. It's the tragedy of Klal Yisrael doing the Egel HaZahav, of doing the calf of gold. We saw in last week's parasha in Rashi that tells us that Kol Puraniut, any problem that comes to Klal Yisrael, Ribbono Shel Olam takes a little bit of the Egel HaZahav's punishment and throws it in. So why does the Mishnah only tells us Nishtabru Haluchot? It should say Nishtabru Haluchot v'avdu et ha'egel, and they serve the egel. So to answer that, you could go to a different Rashi in Ele Devarim. In Devarim, he goes and he tells us there's a bunch of cities that are mentioned, and he brings Chazal that tells us that none of these cities exist, but all they are a hint to what we did wrong. And in order to not embarrass us, Moshe Rabbeinu was so kind that he gave us a hint that we should be able to do teshuvah. I think Chachamim over here also, by the Egel, they're doing exactly the same thing. They're telling us Nishtabru Haluchot, but do you know what the cause of Nishtabru Haluchot? Nishtabru Haluchot is the effect. But the cause is what? Is Egel HaZahav. So the first thing that we're told is not straight out. It's more of Ahavat Hinam. It's not Sinat Hinam. It's one of the reasons that the Bet HaMikdash was destroyed was because that Sinat Hinam, people didn't love each other. They didn't care. So what Chazal is teaching us right now is when you go and reprimand somebody, when you tell them you did something wrong, don't tell it straight out to their face. Explain it to them in a roundabout manner. Like that, things go better. And like that, there's no animosity. And like that, we have the Bet HaMikdash again. The next thing that happened was Ubutal HaTamid. The Korban HaTamid in the first Bet HaMikdash or the second Bet HaMikdash Machloket, when was it? But we didn't have the Korban HaTamid anymore. Every day we used to bring in the morning a Korban, and in the evening we would bring a Korban also, and that Korban kept us alive, kept us going. They realized that this tefillot that we're doing, these prayers that we're doing, praying to Hashem, coming close to Hashem, is stopping the destruction of Bet HaMikdash. So what did they do? They went and they put, according to one midrash, they put a davar tameh, a pork inside. Inside, they used to go in the morning. They would bring them a basket full of gold, and the soldiers would put inside 2 sheep. Now, what did they put inside? They put a pork inside that weighs about the same amount, and that pork went and grabbed onto the walls and scratched the walls of the chomat of the Bet HaMikdash, and it went and it scratched it because it didn't want to go there. And Nizda'aza ha'aretz 400 parsa al 400 parsa. It was a very tough thing that happened. The Tamid was gone. What else happened? V'ufka'a ha'ir. And the city was breached. They were able to go into Yerushalayim, not to Har HaBayit, but into Yerushalayim itself. Now, when they went into Har HaBayit, when they went into Yerushalayim, what happens? It was either on the 9th day of Tamuz, like the Pasuk tells us, or was the 17th day of Tamuz. So according to the Gemara Bavli, what is it? It was all, the first Bet HaMikdash was on the 9th day of Tamuz, like the Pasuk. The second Bet HaMikdash was on the 17th day of Tamuz. And the reason why we do the second one, is Maran tells us, is because that's Hamur Lanutfe, and that's brought down from a lot of Rishonim, that really that was the last thing that happened to us. So you remember the last calamity that happened more than the first one. The Yerushalmi disagrees with that. He says that both of them happened on the 17th day of Tamuz. It's just that Klal Yisrael didn't know how to count. They were so mixed up, they even didn't know what day it was. We all know what it was by July 4th, when it was on a Monday, and then you went to work on Tuesday. You didn't know if it was Monday or Tuesday. You were all mixed up. When it came Thursday, and you take out the Sefer Torah, people were screaming, "It's Wednesday today." No, people get confused a little bit with times, and this is what the Yerushalmi tells us, that the 9th of Tammuz was really in the first Bet HaMikdash, second Bet HaMikdash, it was the 17th day of Tammuz. Then there was Saraf Apustomos et HaTorah. Apustomos, we don't really know who he was. The only reason why we know who he was is because he's brought down over here in the Mishnah. Some people go and tell us Apustomos was Antipater. They had different opinions and different thought ways of who it was. But at the end of the day, he was a Roman legion. He was a very bad man, and he went and he broadened this Torah. Which Torah did he burn? Because it says Sefer HaTorah with a Hey, the known Torah. It was the book of Ezra Sofer. So any time a Sefer Torah gets burned, Hashem Yishmerenu, it should never happen again. It was a calamity for Klal Yisrael. It was crying for Klal Yisrael. So this guy, Apustomos, went and started up with us with our most important thing, which is the Torah. This Torah most probably was Ezra HaSofer's Torah that he went and he wrote. It was in the times in the second Bet HaMikdash, according to some. And that was the Torah that Apustomos went and burned. Then it says, V'he'emit tselem b'hechal. And he placed the tselem in the Echal. Who placed the tselem in the Echal? According to the Rambam and a lot of other Mefarshim, who was that? That was Apustomos. Also, he went and he put an idol in the Bet HaMikdash. Rashi, on the other hand, tells us that who was it? It was Menashe that went and put the idol in. Like it's brought down in the Navi. So they ask on Rashi, excuse me, it should be chronological order. You first have the luchot that were broken, then you have the tamid that wasn't there, then you have the hufka'a ir, then you have Apustamos. So it can't. Why are you going back in history? You should have brought down Menashe beforehand. V'emid tzelem b'echal. But Rashi is telling us, like we said beforehand, about the Egel HaZahav. Why isn't it mentioned? Because we do not want to embarrass Menashe. If we look at Divrei Hayamim, we see that he did Teshuvah. In the Navi, it doesn't tell us, but in Divrei Hayamim, it does tell us that he did Teshuvah. So in order not to embarrass him and to reprimand him in front of everybody, that's why we put it together according to Rashi Ve'emid Tzelem B'echal. Be'ezat Hashem, we should be zocheh that everybody should have a Geula Shlema Be'ezat Hashem, a Refuah Shlema, in Bracha V'Atzlacha, and next year we will be in Bet HaMikdash, and from Shiva Asar B'Tamuz until Tisha B'Av is going to be Be'ezat Hashem Hol HaMoed.